Will 2024 be a good time to buy or sell? What will be the best performing asset? What assets should you look out for and what ones should you avoid? Are you planning to buy in 2024? What are the properties that you think will do well? What would you consider buying? Is the market going to rise or crash? Let me know in the comments below as well. In this video, I'm also going to explore what are the best options in terms of commercial and residential for 2024. Last year, offices were down about 20%, industrial fell by about 6%, retail was down by about 5%, and residential was up by about 4% year on year. So what is in store for 2024? For those of you who don't know me and are new to the channel, my name is Shane Fleming. I've nearly 20 years experience working in real estate. I have a degree in property economics and I've been making videos on property for the last few years. There's nearly about 200 videos on this channel, so make sure to check them out if you want to learn more. Let's get commercial out of the way first. Quickly, offices dropped by about 20% in 2023, but it is likely that there is more to come in terms of office reductions in 2024. I don't believe the full fallout has really hit the office market in Ireland. Buyers and sellers still aren't really seeing eye to eye, and transaction volumes are at an all-time low. While there is demand for new offices that are highly energy efficient from a tenant side, some developers are removing them from their schemes, and there is a large volume of vacant older office buildings, and that's likely going to increase in 2024 as more and more leases expire. Many landlords of old office blocks will struggle to find new tenants in 2024. Many landlords may consider trying to convert older office blocks into residential units. However, the challenge of changing offices into residential units will still make it very difficult in 2024. Many of those schemes just won't be feasible due to high costs. It is getting harder to predict the future rental forecasts of properties because of the likes of work from home and AI, and this brings a lot of unknowns at the moment. Therefore, all of this uncertainty impacts future rent, and that impacts the yields that are being applied to these properties, which ultimately impacts today's value. Unlike residential properties, value in commercial properties is largely down to predicting the future rental income from a particular property and applying an appropriate yield. With all the uncertainty out there in terms of office space, particularly with older buildings, I can only see yields being pushed out even further, and this will be reflected because of the uncertainty in lower capital values. And perhaps we may hit low double digits in terms of falls of office values in 2024, up to maybe 12 or even 15% of a fall of value. Retail only fell by 6% in 2023, but this is following major drops in 2021 and 2022. So many believe that retail is actually starting to level out, and some believe retail might actually show some signs of growth, particularly in rental growth and maybe some capital value growth in 2024. This is an area to watch in 2024. There has been very limited retail development over the last 16 years. Demand for brick and mortar locations is growing from retailers, as well as even traditional online traders are now seeking high street locations. Demand is quite stable in regional and neighborhood centers. Demand is still there from a service-based retailers. However, rents are slightly limited for quite a lot of operators because they're being squeezed both on costs of rising energy costs and rising staff costs as well. And there's also the threat of online shopping that just can't be discounted at the moment. It's strange to say this or think about it, but perhaps the best opportunities in 2024 may actually come from the retail market. Properties that were leased in 2021 or 2022 or had rent reviews around that time may be due a significant rental uplift come 2026 and 2027. Therefore, acquiring such properties in 2024 may result in greater returns and perhaps outperform the market over the next 5 to 10 years. I have been bigging up the industrial market since I started making these videos back in 2020, but this might be the first year they're not my first choice in terms of the commercial side of the market. Last year I thought the industrial market might fall a little bit, but I expected it to be reasonably steady. It fell by about 6%, but in general terms the market was reasonably steady. But I think this year we're probably at a point where rental growth will be very limited in terms of the future, and yields will start to weaken, one because of interest rates, but also because there will be limited future rental growth on the horizon, and therefore that is going to impact the yield calculation. It is one to buy and perhaps as a safe investment, but the major growths that have happened in 2020 all the way to 2022, I think are behind us. We might see a little bit of a drop in this high single figures, around 6 or 7% in terms of a drop in values or capital values in 2024. Obviously, there are major risk factors in terms of the commercial market, and depending on the asset type, you have to consider national and even international factors that can impact commercial properties in a far greater way than they impact residential properties. Tax changes, interest rate changes, global slowdowns, you have foreign investment shifting to different countries. You have also consumer behavior shifting around the world as well. Working from home is impacting offices. Online shopping has been impacting retail for years, but has benefited in the industrial property market. And global shifts and changes, global changes have a greater impact on commercial property because many of the buyers are international players. Therefore, it is important to keep an eye on the international markets when you are considering the commercial market and how that's going to impact value and performance into 2024. The regulations that impact the commercial landlord and tenant relationship have been well established since 1980. They were changed a little bit in 1994 and again in 2010, but there has been no major changes, and the relationship has been quite stable, and that has led to a reasonably stable investment market. The same cannot be said when it comes to residential property, because every second week there's new talk of new rule changes in the residential market in terms of how residential landlords and tenants will interact and change their relationship, and this is causing a lot of uncertainty within the residential market. And what's worse is the media and the government speculation on perhaps future changes that will ultimately impact values, even impact values now. So this is something to consider when you are looking at the residential market in 2024. So with residential, is it still worth it? It was one of the few sectors that actually had positive growth in 2023, both in capital value and rental growth. Rental growth was in the double digits in a lot of locations around the country, and capital values on average were up about 4%. One might suggest that residential is the best bet for 2024. And in terms of overall capital growth, residential, well, might be the best performer in 2024. If you consider all the economic factors that impact housing values, if you take the four key ones, GDP is reasonably stable, employment is very positive at the moment, interest rates may perhaps be coming down in 2024, but at least they're stable at the moment. Inflation is still running reasonably high, which does push more and more people to buy hard assets like property. So a lot of the key indicators are suggesting that perhaps there will still be growth in terms of value. Additional factors to consider would be a growing population. You have nearly 500,000 young people living with their parents looking to move out. You have a 50%, I think about a 50% increase in people in the country earning over 100,000. You have record levels of cash on deposit. You have high demand from buyers. Renting is more expensive, so more people want to get a mortgage. And there is high demand for new homes from the government and housing bodies, and the country is building perhaps 20 to 30,000 less homes than it actually needs. And when you add up all of these factors, demand is remaining reasonably strong or very strong into 2024, and supply is lagging way behind. And all of these indicate higher prices in 2024. Obviously, a major international event could impact all of that, but from a national point of view, generally speaking, everything is indicating that property prices or housing prices will rise in 2024. There were a lot of reports that values, particularly in Dublin, had fallen in Q2 and Q3 of 2023. I put out a video at the time suggesting that I didn't believe the stats because I was seeing values rise in a lot of areas around Dublin. The reports are out now that there was a bump in value in Q4 of 2023, and overall values are up about 4% on the year. I believe that values are up far more than 4% in 2023 on a whole. Most of the data that makes up that 4% is based on a lower transaction volume than normal years. Therefore, there's less data to actually look at in terms of overall stock. And much of that stock is made up, particularly in 2023, of landlord selling and probate sales. Some agents will say that nearly 50% of their sales in the last 2 years has been landlord selling, meaning that these are properties that are caught up in rental caps, perhaps in poor condition or with tenants. But when you actually look at the second home market, particularly in high demand areas or reasonably priced areas, the increases that I'm seeing on many of those streets and many of those developments are in the double digits year on year in 2023. But when you fill a whole data sheet of landlord selling, this impacts the average figure because it's not a true average of the overall market, and therefore the true increase of family homes is being missed or being hidden. Much of the sales stock in the private market since 2021 has been landlord selling or probate sales. Landlords selling will likely dry up in the coming years, and if this happens, we're going to see far less stock available to the private market. Much of the new construction that is taking place is being eaten up by social housing or housing bodies. Therefore, while I agree with a lot of the commentators or the main agents who are commentating that there will be a rise in residential prices in 2024, many are predicting around 3 to 4%. I also feel that that is very reasonable, but I think there is a perfect storm brewing here as well. Interest rates could slightly drop. New construction is simmering around 30,000, which is nowhere near enough. The number of landlords selling is going to dry up, and therefore it's very difficult to see where supply or stock is going to come from to meet all the demand is there. And therefore, as demand is growing because more people are getting paid better, I feel that this is a perfect storm, and house prices in Ireland in 2024 could go way beyond the 3 or 4% predicted. And potentially, if landlord sales do dry up, we could be seeing double-digit growth in 2024. We will see how 2024 unfolds. Let me know what your thoughts are in the comments below. If you got value out of this video, please help the channel out. Hit that subscribe button and like the video. As always, thanks.